2 years to find my zone of genius. And I'm just going to be honest. I tried maybe 30 different business ideas until I hit this one.
First of all, it is crazy to get up, pack your life into suitcases and go start afresh in a new country. It is doubly crazy to kind of start a business as an immigrant entrepreneur because you're still trying to understand yourself and understand your new culture. And then you decide to go try to understand the business culture.
It's not balanced. Let's be honest. It's messy, especially at the beginning. One breakthrough moment for me was...
Welcome back to the Unfiltered with Poch podcast. Today, I have with me Asli Kahraman, who runs Operations Mavenue. That's a really interesting name, honestly. And you're going to explain to me why you picked that name, because I keep thinking of Maven. I wonder if that's part of it, or if you'd say your same revenue or something. But basically, she helps businesses, overcome operational inefficiencies by building their SOPs and operational manuals in Notion. But I think the most interesting part of your story is you moved here 6 years ago as an international student. You finish school, work for a year, and then go start a business.
That's correct.
And I want to understand what was going through your mind when you said, people would say you would work for a bit, before you start a business. But what was going through your mind? 1 year in, and you're like, I'm going to take a risk. Like, what was going through your mind?
So, first of all, entrepreneurship is a crazy thing to do. When people ask me, why did you start a business? My first answer is, I'm a crazy person. That's it. Simple answer. So, but a little about me and my backstory. I actually came to Canada with the idea in my mind that I'm going to become a business owner. Since the very beginning, I had this in my mind, and that's why I changed my career here. I didn't pursue a program that was that's relevant to my professional career. I'm coming from a corporate law background. I was a corporate lawyer back in my home country in Turkey. And I came here as an international student and studied global business management for 2 years. And everyone was like, corporate law, and you worked for the third largest international law firm in the world. Like, the sky is the limit for you. Why are you changing to business management? And I'm like, I'm a crazy person. No, I just said, this is what I want. I don't want to stay as a lawyer. I want to start my own business. And when I first started, I quit my 1 year of job, very safe and secure job, by the way. And I don't even have a PR yet, by the way. I set up the business without even knowing that I have the security to stay in the country.
Yeah.
Crazy, I'm telling you.
No, you're special, honestly. You're special. Because you are. Because, here's what I'm thinking about in my head is that, how what I call their green flags that say comfort, so you've worked corporate law. Law is a very interesting career in the sense that, just a lot of pay, you can make partner, you can make a ton of good money. Then you have the pedigree of working with the third largest law comp firm in the world, which means that you flash that here in Canada and they're like, oh shit, we want to hire Asli. Asli, come, we want to hire you. But then you decide to go study something else, and then you decide to go start a business. So I don't think the word is crazy. I think you're just special, But I think the part for me which I find interesting is, yes, you decided that you're like, oh, I'm going to start a business when I join here. But why didn't you say to yourself, it's going to be something in law or helping law firms or stuff? Why? How did you get to the point where you're saying, I want to be helping businesses, manage operational inefficiencies and all that? Like, how did you get to that point? Like, how did you decide that was the thing to do?
That was a very hard decision, actually. This is a really great question, and thank you for asking, because it required lots of self-awareness and thinking, basically just sitting and thinking, what do I want and what's my zone of genius, if you know that word. And because when I was a lawyer, but let's be honest, I was very good at it. And when you're good at something, people are expecting that you actually love doing it, because they're thinking, because most of the people, if they don't love something, they suck at it. But there are some people like us, even if we don't like the task, we can excel at it. I am one of those people. Unfortunately, it's a curse and a blessing. So when I told even my father and my mom, I want to switch to something else, and I'm quitting my corporate law career. They were like, what? That just doesn't make sense. And it took me 2 years after I became a full-time entrepreneur. It took me 2 years to find my zone of genius. And I'm just going to be honest. I tried maybe 30 different business ideas until I hit this one. And this boomed. And, now it's a successful business. 30 different business ideas. Some of them they just faded off during the idea validation stage. Some of them I actually started executing, and then I realized that, what the hell, this is not even for me. I'm not good at this. But 30 different business ideas, and only 2 of them worked.
Damn.
So yeah, lots of failures, tests, like trial and errors. Classic entrepreneurship.
Yeah. And I keep thinking about, I can't stop thinking about what you said earlier on about that thing about you're good at something, but doesn't mean you love it. And, and how that is such a big trap for a lot of people, in the sense that, like you say, it's a curse and a blessing. It's like, oh, you're good at the thing and it pays your bills. But then you are not exactly really feeling fulfilled. And, I think one of the things that scares me the most as I get older is getting to 50 or 60 and looking back at my life and asking myself, what the hell did I just waste the past 30 years doing?
This was the exact same thing that made me make lots of changes in my life. I had the exact same image in my mind, me on the bed, 70 years old, granddaughters, grandkids around, and I envisioned myself. Am I happy? Am I fulfilled? Am I content? If yes, why? How did I spend my 40, 50 years to come there? And it was never corporate law. Even if I became one of the managing partners at DLA Piper, and I'm making billions and billions, the first thing I thought of, am I happy? So that's the reason why I made so many changes in my life.
Okay, so let's go to the crazy part of this journey of yours. So yeah, let's accept you're crazy a bit. Let's go to the crazy part of it.
Okay.
So first of all, it is crazy to get up, pack your life into suitcases, and go start afresh in a new country. It is doubly crazy to kind of start a business as an immigrant entrepreneur because you're still trying to understand yourself and understand your new culture, and then you decide to go try to understand the business culture. And I think is how have you kind of straddled that balance? Like, how do you tread that line? Because it's such a fine line. It is challenging, honestly. Like we can laugh about it right now, but I'm pretty sure that they're like I don't know. Let me not guess, but just tell me about that. Like how do you manage that?
Okay, so first of
Sorry.
all, sorry about the cough.
No, that's okay.
The first thing that comes to my mind is it's not balanced. Let's be honest. It's messy, especially at the beginning. One breakthrough moment for me was in my entrepreneurial journey when I realized everything that I think an disadvantage for me is actually I can look at it from a different angle, from a different perspective, and think of it as my advantage. So I'll give you a couple of examples. And it's applicable to this as well, being an entrepreneur and being new in this country, knowing no one, no social or professional network. The first thing, people ask, how did you do it? As you ask, because you don't know anyone. Sometimes less is more, because less distraction, less factors that come in play. So you just, it simplifies the process for you. You just do only a couple of things that you know the best and try to make the most out of it. And I'll give you a couple other examples. In my first business, the one that I built with my husband, It's a lead generation agency. It's still ongoing, but my husband is in charge of it right now. I'm fully focused on my operations management consulting firm. So we started that business, and it requires, the business model requires cold calling. And to get to our first 10 customers, let's say, we are cold calling businesses, usually in the US, and trying to close a deal. And quickly, I realized that cold calling is not one of my strongest suits. One, because English is not my first language. And second, I'm a female, and the people that I'm calling, 90% of the time, males in a home services industry. It's a male-dominated industry. And I started thinking that, what the hell am I doing? I'm a female, calling males, everyone, like the people I'm calling are native speakers, I have broken English. And around that time, I'm reading this book called The Unfair Advantage. And that book kind of changed my perspective. It's a really good book, by the way. I recommend to everyone in business. And everyone who wants to increase their self-awareness and figure out their unfair advantages. And one of the key takeaways from the book is that whatever you think as a disadvantage for you, you can actually turn it around and make it your advantage. And I'm like, okay, let me think. I'm a female in a male-dominated industry, and doing this with my broken English, can it be my actually unfair advantage? And it turned out to be, it is my unfair advantage, because my close rate of the deals had turned out to be really high. And I realized, at least this is my interpretation, one of the reasons is because when I call people and start talking and pitching this business to them, in my opinion, they thought, well, if she's doing this with a broken English, and I mean, like as a female in a male-dominated industry, there is something that is not a scam, and she must be really committed, invested, and confident in the business. Otherwise, who would do this with their broken English? And out of 10 people, I closed maybe, at least I went into closing call, maybe 7 or 8 with them. So just as an example, I wanted to throw it out there.
I'm going to go get that book, actually, because I want to find my unfair advantage. I want to find my unfair advantage, honestly. But that is such a, it reminds me of an article I'm currently writing about Derek Sivers' book, Useful But True, where he talks about how, as immigrants, like basically, more often than not, we always come to a new country, and then every single thing we knew that was obviously true changes. Now, you can decide to either hold on to that, or you can rewire your mind and reframe that perspective and ask yourself, what is useful about what I know right now within the context of how I'm operating? Discard what's not useful, pick what's useful, and adjust it to suit your situation. Because, like, you're right. Like, the point is that if you struggled a lot in your former country to kind of get jobs, you build grit, for example, you build resilience. That is a skill that you have that you can take advantage of here. You can either say to yourself that, oh, that is I fail a lot, so I don't know how to. Or you can say to yourself, I know how to go over and over at something at many times to succeed. So it's I think it's kind of related to what you're saying about unfair advantage, and I'm just saying, like, that is such an interesting reframing to adopt as an immigrant, because I think one thing I'm very big on with for immigrants, entrepreneurs or otherwise, is we must not let ourselves feel like victims about anything. It's so easy to fall into that trap. You feel like a victim. Oh, I'm being profiled. Oh, the government doesn't like me. Oh, the natives talk bad about immigrants. Like, I mean, that's okay. It's like, but what are you deciding to do with what you're hearing?
I totally agree with you. There is a lot of like victim mindset going on in like, unfortunately, in some of the communities that we are in. And I realized that, and I always say this, if you want to fail at anything, being an immigrant, being an entrepreneur, starting a business, being in academia, whatever that is. If you want to find out reasons to fail at it, you can find a million reasons. And sometimes there are only a couple of reasons why you can actually succeed at it. And if you want to succeed, you just need to hold on to those reasons and just ignore all the things, all the other, the spectrum, the reasons that you can fail, why you can fail. So sometimes I notice this. I mentor, and at the Forum Canada, it's a mentorship program for women entrepreneurs in Canada. So I have my mentees, and sometimes I notice this pattern in them. Unfortunately, especially in the immigrant entrepreneurs, when I ask them, in the middle of the conversation, naturally I ask them, okay, it seems like you have a business mindset, you've always wanted to do this, you are in mid-30s, I say, why didn't you become an entrepreneur back in your home country? And they say, because I know lots of people and they know me, I feared of being judged, and so many reasons, right? And it's coming from most of the reasons are from because it was their home country and they know a lot of people, which are the things they lack here. Then I ask them, okay, so this is your dream. Why don't you build a business here? Why don't you become an entrepreneur here? And now they say the complete opposite things. And they say, I don't have a professional networking. I'm like, come on. Right? So I'm not judging anyone. I'm just saying, if you focus on the things, the ways that you can fail,
you will fail.
You will definitely fail.
Yeah, you will fail. You will fail.
So,
yeah, you will fail. And so, considering your journey with language, like how has that kind of shaped how you've, all the way to like your second business right now? How has language shaped your entrepreneurship experience? Like, you've done the first one. Like, how do you take all those lessons and approach the second one you're doing right now?
That's a really good question. Again, so one information about my business right now, I'm a consultant right now. So people pay me to talk, to give them advice. So, and again, there was a breakthrough moment. I remember this moment very clearly in my head. And it happened after I read that book, The Unfair Advantage. I think it was in the second year of my entrepreneurship. Yeah, second year of entrepreneurship. I just started this, consulting firm. I'm getting clients from the US and Canada. And I noticed at some point that I am trying to be someone else. I'm pretending, or I'm imitating those people that we see on YouTube, generally, male, white males who was born and raised in the US, and they are, native speakers, and they've been in business for some time, and they give advice left, right, and center, regardless of their age or their status or stage in the business. So just because I grew up watching those YouTube videos, I am just imitating them. But at some point after I read that book, I noticed what makes me close those deals, especially with the clients from US and Canada, is because of my authenticity. They actually pay me and come to me when there are a million other consultants out there, come to think of it, because I'm just different. My language is different, my accent is different, my background is different. I'm just unique for them. They grew up watching those people as well, and all of them are almost the same, acting the same, talking like the same. They are imitating each other as well. I'm just standing out from the crowd. And does it. When I notice that, oh my God, all the things that make me different, I can actually double down on them, lean on them, and then, sound through them. I'm like, okay, I'm doing it, baby. So, yeah.
Oh, gosh. It's a good reminder, honestly, because I think as immigrants, more often than not, we code switch. we kind of the code switch, and we want to be like, but I'm beginning to accept that you can integrate without being like. You can learn the cultural nuances. You can learn the society. You can learn the things that drive society without being like, because the beauty of being an immigrant and the value you bring to society is the diversity of experience you come with. And once you leave that, you know, then the business suffers. You suffer because all you're doing is just trying to be like, when you should be just do your thing, and that's how it works for you as an immigrant entrepreneur. Like, it just works for you. But I guess it's hard, though. It's hard.
It is hard, definitely. It takes some balls to actually be yourself, especially
Yeah.
in an environment when you're surrounded by people who are just like each other. They look alike, talk alike, and behave alike. And you come in and you try to build your authority, try to sell to them, and you are rejecting to be like them because you are comfortable in your own skin, you're confident, and you say, I can stay as myself and I can still build a good business here, build a good life here, and still continue to be myself. So it requires a lot of courage, definitely.
Yeah. So, and just kind of extending on that in a way, like, so how have you gone about building your social network, like, since all this while, like, just kind of, and I'm talking about two types of social networks now. I think the first one for me is just the networking for business, and then the second one is networking to find immigrant entrepreneurs like yourself, because I feel like we often need that community of people who understand what we're going through, but sometimes the two networks are the same thing, sometimes they're different. So, but how have you gone about building it all this while? Because 30 businesses in 4 years is a lot, but yeah, tell me more.
Okay, so what comes to my mind is I think I've had two advantages, and one of them is on a personal level, and the other one is on a business level. So on the personal level one, I am an extrovert, and sometimes even to the extent that you can call me a social butterfly. So that helps me when like I can go into any community, any room, anywhere, and I can make friends, or even if I don't make friends, I can just start talking. So that helped me building my professional social network here. And one advantage that I have, in my opinion, on the business level is that my business is not a local business. It's a remote online digital business, and I can get customers/clients from anywhere in the world. And that helped me actually not to have to build a local community here.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's
Yes.
an interesting point. That's an interesting point.
But you see, it comes back to, again, the unfair advantage. So sometimes, again, people come to me, my mentees or my clients, and some of them are in their early stage of their business or just starting. And I notice this in some of them. They come to me with some examples and they say, okay, I saw or I watched this person and he or she became successful. I'm just going to copy the same thing. But I tell them, well, number one, the reason or the fact that it worked for you, it worked for him, doesn't mean that it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
And because there are so many factors in play. And second, it probably worked for him, that business model, that country, that way of doing things, because it aligned with his own unfair advantages. So, and I tell my own example, I tell them, look, I am an extrovert, I'm a social person, so I lean on this, and I can, if I'm broke today, I can go out there, make some friends, build some connections, and can make money. If you're an introvert, this way of doing things is not gonna work for you. So we are gonna first build the foundation, figure out your unfair advantages, and then figure out a way that aligns with your advantages. So, does this answer your question?
Yeah, it does in a way. It does. It does. But then and just especially listen to how you're mentees, the questions your mentees ask. And so I'm now curious for you, when you were launching the business in Canada, what did you think it was going to be like? Like you know, and what has it been like?
Does it? Let me tell you what I was thinking. Like, okay, all right. I'm gonna be super honest because I'm sure that there are people out there just like me. Okay, imagine I am so okay. So I graduated from a law faculty. So I was somewhat, to some extent, relatively successful education life, or track record. I'm talking about my track record. And then I went into corporate life. I worked for 5 years in Turkey as a corporate lawyer, and then 1 year in Canada as a project manager, operations manager. I'm good. Well, lousy, I'm doing great. So, what do you think? Based on this track record, I'm thinking I'm going to go into business in 1 year. I'm becoming a millionaire, building a mansion. I'm going to kill this. Everyone know me. 1 year in business. I'm not there at all. And I'm questioning, like every single cell in my body is questioning the existence, And in the second year of business, I had a huge breakdown, like into depression, maybe 3 or 4 months of depression. Yes, and now looking back at that time, I am so grateful that I had that time because it allowed me to reprogram myself. I sat down with myself, with my limiting beliefs, my mindset issues, all the things that come from my belief system, and I worked through one by one, on each of them. I literally deconstructed myself and rebuilt again. I did the inner work first, and then I was able to build this business. This one, the Operations Mavenue consulting firm. And it taught me, it was one of the breakthrough moments in my life, again, magical moments. And one thing that kind of proves me is that after every night, there is definitely a day. And when you reach rock bottom, the only way is to go up, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have I answered your question, by the way? I know that.
You are, because it's so easy to think that. I think it's so easy to think that everything's gonna be, so great, and then you get in there and you're like, what the hell did I just decide to do with myself?
Exactly. The business humbled me down, definitely. When I first started, I had high expectations from myself. Again, based on my track record, but after this many years in business, I'm thinking, you are not special, Asli. You are not an outlier. You are not a genius. You are an average person, and a very typical business owner. Just accept that and go with it. And this actually, gives me so much relief and comfort because I'm more patient right now. I don't have that much high expectations from myself, and it makes things easier. Definitely.
Yeah. Thinking of that, what's the one thing you'd have done differently in hindsight now?
That's a good question. I think I did my best at any given time with the knowledge that I had.
Fair.
So if I go back in time, I don't think I could have or would have changed anything. Because at any given time, I gave my 100% with the knowledge that I had.
Yeah, but let's just imagine you're talking to someone who's just trying to start and looking at all the things, like an immigrant entrepreneur who's starting out and looking at what you experienced. Like, what's the one thing you would tell them you would have done differently that they can take and learn from?
That's a good question. I think one thing I would tell them, especially if they are starting, they are just starting, I would tell them to keep in mind or focus on this concept we called product market fit. I learned the importance of product market fit, I think, after maybe 2 years in my entrepreneurial journey. And now I tell everyone, Because I tell them, if you have product market fit, everything, every aspect and stage of the business is going to be super, like, not super easy, but easy for you, definitely. But if you don't have product market fit, you'll be either just beating a dead horse, or you will build a successful business to some extent, but every stage, every step, every aspect will be harder than it should be. So, and how do we understand we have a product market fit? I tell them, look out for traction. Let's say you come up with an idea, you are in the validation stage. During that stage, you're asking people, trying to get some sales, close some customers / clients, or putting out some content out there, whether it's on social media or on YouTube. Are you getting traction? If you are getting, so there is kind of a spectrum. If you are not getting any traction, you are putting yourself out there, so the input is there, but output is not much, or maybe even zero. Leave that. Even if it's your passion and you love that business idea, you think it's your baby, forget about it. There are a million other business ideas you can try. If you're at the other end of the spectrum, you're getting a lot of traction, sky is the limit for you, just go for it. That business is gonna blow up. If you're in the middle, that's the hardest part, because you think that, well, I'm getting something, but is this enough? Can this make it work? Then you stay in that stage a little bit to be able to make it. You collect more data so that you can have a data-informed decision making. So, but at some point, whether it's after 1 month or 1 year, you need to make a decision and figure out if that traction is enough for you to have a sustainable business. So one thing that, after I understood this, the importance of product market fit, it became experiential knowledge for me. There's a difference between intellectual and experiential knowledge. When I started the operations management consulting firm, and I put out there just my first offering, and it was, I think, back then it was just like a $50 template, and I put it out there on YouTube, my first video. In 1 week, in less than a week, someone from Germany bought it, and he commented, "I've been waiting for this. This is literally, I've been waiting for this. This is great. I've been searching for this on the internet. Thank you for putting this out there." And then I was like, oh, this is what people talk about when they say product market fit. So it's very important.
So we're running up now. And before we go to this and that, I want to just ask you a very existential question, which is, people say immigrants make great entrepreneurs. Do you feel that way?
Definitely.
Why?
Because entrepreneurship requires lots of resilience and determination. And if you're an immigrant, willy-nilly, you develop that resilience and that determination. You go through lots of hardships that people who've never been an immigrant in their life cannot even fathom. They can't even comprehend. They can imagine, they can appreciate or empathize, but they can't understand. And it's a transferable skill. The resilience you built in your immigration journey, you just transfer it into your entrepreneurial journey when you become an entrepreneur. Yeah. That's what I think.
No, you're giving me hope.
Go for it, Dulcie. I'm rooting for you.
You're giving me hope. You're giving me hope. So let's do this and that. So which is basically, this and that is just you either answer just straight away, or sometimes give a reason why. But basically it's just, I'm going to ask you like 6 to 8 questions. So first one goes, work from home or work from an office? Which do you prefer?
Work from home, 90%, 10% work from office.
Interesting. Bootstrapping or seeking investors?
Definitely bootstrapping.
Networking events or online forums?
Online forums.
Ebooks or paper books?
Paper books.
Podcast or reading?
But I'm on a podcast right now. I don't want to be biased. Definitely reading.
Fair. Me too. I don't. So I host podcasts, but funny enough, I don't listen to as much podcasts as I host. So it's so wild. I read more than I host to podcasts. Coffee or tea?
Tea. I'm Turkish.
But wait. There's a Turkish coffee I took at an event. Gosh, I haven't forgotten. It came inside one small
Cup.
really cup that was elaborately carved and stuff. Gosh, it was so beautiful.
We sell Turkish coffee to tourists, but we drink tea.
Tea? Are you serious? Oh, I never knew that. Debt financing or equity financing?
Debt financing, definitely.
The last for me is building from scratch or acquiring an existing business.
Acquiring an existing business.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jose. I really enjoyed that conversation.
Same here. Oh, this was so good. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.